found your California dream home? Good luck with that. It may be gone by tomorrow. This is an LA Times story. The 4-bedroom house in North Tustin went on the market on Thursday. That Saturday, Vic and Sarah were inside checking out the mid-century living room and debating how they could remodel the kitchen in the $1.1 million listing. If they wanted to act, they didn't have much time. Offer were due Tuesday. Homes are selling at warp speed nationwide, forcing would-be buyers to make snap decisions on what is typically the biggest purchase of their lives. In California, houses haven't sold faster in at least 3 decades, according to data from state's main realtors association. In March, a home's median time on the market in the Golden State was 8 days. That's insane. 8 days. The shortest time period recorded by California Association of Realtors, whose database goes back in 1990. In the bubble years 2003 to 2005, homes typically took more than 20 days to sell. In the hot market years preceding the pandemic, the median time on a market at times dipped further, hitting a low of 14 days in 2017. 8 days? No. You put the house on the market within 8 days it's selling? That's insane to be thinking about that.
And it's all over the country. You really don't hear about any market where there isn't bidding wars on every house. And then there's also these other factors that have come into it. If you're a home buyer, if you're building a new home, is the cost of wood right now. They say that the cost of wood is so high, lumber, because of the supply chain issues that they've had over the past year, that if you're building a house, add on another $36,000 on average per house because of the wood. Shonda, my wife, is an interior decorator. And if you want to order new appliances right now, she said, 6 months. 6 months wait.
So, by the way, right now at 10 o'clock, I got a interior decorator that's looking at one of the houses that we're looking at to help get the place fixed up. And he says, here's our limit. Our limit's a minimum of $200,000, and this is what we take. And honestly, if you say no to it, we don't have a lot of time, so this is kind of what we're working with right now. That's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Yeah, like 10 people you call, they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're so booked. We can't. When do you need it? Is it like a month from now, 2 months from now? No, we need it like now. We can't do that. So it is a very different market today on who benefits from this. But the question becomes how long this is going to last. The challenge sometimes happens. I had a friend of mine who was an interior designer, and he would also come in and actually do the work. His best year in 2006, he made $1.6 million. For him, that's a lot of money. He made $1.6 million in 2006. Do you know what happened to that $1.6 million income 3 years later?
A third.
Crash.
150. Not 1.6 to $600,000 to 150 grand.
9%, 90%.
90% drop off. So here's if you're listening to this and you're one of the guys that's making a lot of money, more money than you've ever made in your entire life, take whatever your income is this year and divide it by 5 years. Look at that as your real income. If you make $2 million this year, look at it as you only made $400,000 this year over the next 5 years. If you're making $1 million this year, you didn't make $1 million this year. You really made $200,000 this year. If you can look at your income that way, you'll have it when the bad times come, because it's not going to be like this for too long. Look, there's 2 indicators when we talk about inflation. Today we'll launch a video on inflation. Kai, what's the title of the video on inflation? The dangers of inflation and the futures of America, like how it affects, right? So
excited to watch that.
There's 2 things that affect the market, that controls the market. Who are the 2 puppet masters of the market? Fed, and the other one is the government, right? You got the Fed and the government. Those are the 2 puppet masters. Feds increase rates when the market is doing very good. And the Feds lower rates when the market is doing what? Bad, and they're scared about it. Now, the last 12 years, the last 10 years, what have the rates been? Less than 1%. It's been less than 1% since Obama to Trump to now Biden, right? Janet Yellen indirectly says the rates are going to go up. And the reason why Janet Yellen says is because she was what before? She was?
Chairman of the Fed.
Chairman of the Fed. So she says the rates are going to go. Wait a minute. Who are you? You can't say something like that. That's not your job. That's Powell's job. So she got in trouble. She had to come back and apologize the next day. If she's hinting at the rates going up, whoever's buying anything today for cheap money, it's going to change in the next 12 to 24 months. It is not going to stay like this forever. People have to realize this. So this craziness that's going on, my biggest concern is a lot of people are buying Ferraris, Lambos, S600s, whatever they're buying with money that they're not going to have 2 years from now. What is a famous line that you say? Save that what?
Save that money.
Save that money. If there's ever been a time to be very careful with your cash savings because they're going to do this tax rates. This is not going away. They're going to raise the taxes. It's probably not going to be 39.6 on capital gains. It's probably not going to be 28% for corporate. It's probably going to be 25% for corporate. And it's probably going to be, 33% for capital gains. 33% is still up what? 13% on 20. That's a lot of money we're talking about. So if you can get some cash right now and sit on it, do so, because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, there's going to be some stuff that's going to be taken. By the way, when I'm saying cash, I'm not saying cash like you just sit on cash, because inflation is going to hurt you. I'm saying put it in a place that you'll have access to in the next 2 years. Because if you go into spending spree right now, it's almost like this. You ever seen a fighter that comes in, like it's these videos that do so well, get 50 million views. The guy comes out UFC and is poking fingers in the guy's face, and the other guy's just staying quiet, right? And there was one boxer back in the days, he would do the footwork and would make fun of you and slap the guy in the face. Prince, whatever his name was, right?
Prince Ali.
He would do all this stuff. And then one of the videos, he's doing this and he's like looking so good. Next thing you know, he's a little too cocky. He gets caught, drops. I mean, it's terrible. That video on Facebook's got 40, 50 million views. And everybody wants to see cocky people have a big fall. It's something people like. They like to see trolls with a big
Jake
fall.
Paul analogy.
Your guy, Jake Paul. Yes, people love that, right? So all I'm saying is, if somebody's making money right now, more power to you, man. I'm excited for you. Don't overlive your current lifestyle thinking this money is going to come forever. It is not going to come forever like this. Some people are making lucky money. You know who you are if you're making lucky money. Whatever income you make, the best way to gauge your income, I know, the podcast, we go into a lot of different topics. This is the best way to gauge your income. Take your income. If you made $1.5 million this year, you made $700,000 last year, and you made $300,000 the year before, in my eyes, what's your no matter what income is? $300,000. If you made $1.5 million this year, you made $1.6 million last year, you made $1.5 million the year before, guess what your income is? You're a $1.5 million guy. More power to you. So there's a big difference between this guy living at the $1.5 million lifestyle than the person that made $1.5 million this year. 2 years ago, they were making $300,000. The people that went from 300 to 1.5 with lucky money, they're going to get destroyed in the next 2 years. It's going to be very, very ugly in 2 years. It's going to go back to 2008 years when you were buying $200,000 Lambos for $85,000. A guy comes to me, brings a yellow Lambo, says, "Dude, just take this from me." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I bought this." Like, "Dude, just give me $85,000." I said, $85,000. He says, "Yeah, what'd you pay for?" $250. He just bought it for $250 a year and a half ago. Wants $85,000. So there's going to be a lot of those opportunities in the next 2 years.
Well, that means there's going to be good deals on houses in a couple of years.
Plenty.
Patient.
In the next 2 years.
Do you extrapolate that exact? Let's say you're making 50 grand, then you go to 120 grand, and then you make 180.
Same thing I do with that.
Same thing. Okay.
If I don't make the same money 3 years, I don't buy stuff on the number that I make 3 years.
Gotcha.
I don't buy stuff on numbers I don't make 3 years. You just have to look at your numbers that way.
Yeah, you can't get caught up in the, I made 300 grand this year, but I usually make 80 grand.
Look, you're in the insurance business. I'm a 300 grand guy. Yeah. I've been in this business for 20 years. You know how many guys I've had make $100,000 in a month, $50,000 in a month, and I tell them, listen, you didn't make $50,000 this month. You didn't make $100,000 this month. You really, if you take your 6-month average, you made $100,000 plus the prior 5 months is 40 grand. You made 140 divided by 5 is what? You made barely $28,000. Act like you made 28, not you made $100,000. But unfortunately, guess what happens when a person makes 100? They get the Rolex, they get the Ferragamo, they get the Tom Ford, they get the Stefano Reed, they get all this nice stuff that comes to them. And next thing you know, hey, I don't have any money. 2 years later, they got tax issues.
Pat, I couldn't agree more.
So,
because especially if you're in an industry where you can make some big commissions. Like there's been some times where I've made a huge pop, 100 grand a month, ridiculous. I just put that shit right in the bank.
Do you know when I bought my first Rolex? Ask me when I bought my first Rolex.
Pat, when did you buy your first Rolex?
5 years ago at 37 years old.
5 years ago.
Do you know when I could afford to buy a Rolex? At 25 years old.
12 years ago.
At 25 years old.
Yeah.
But I bought a Rolex 5 years ago.
Why'd you wait so long?
When did I buy my first Ferragamo? What do you think? First Ferragamo shoes, $550 shoes.
4 years ago.
29 years old. My first J's, 30 years old. I've never had a Jordan until 30 years old.
Well, tell us why.
The point, it's you cannot, there cannot be this facade that you have real money.
Yeah.
There are people that have real money. There are people that are making good money. It's a big difference. If you're making the money and you're living a lifestyle that you cannot afford, it's not sustainable. Half the time it's, let me see what this guy's doing. Let me see what that guy's doing. For me, I'm about freedom. I'm about peace of mind. I'm about calm. I'm about having a lot of those things. Sometimes there is risk. Don't get me wrong. Behind closed doors, I got a lot of my money that's also on risk because I'm going for the big pop. Like, you know how we talked about earlier when you said, there's going to be a lot of idiots that lose a lot of their money in the next couple of years with whoever, Dogecoin or Bitcoin or whatever. And I said, there's going to be a lot of idiot millionaires. Yeah. There just is. But, what is a real idiot? Somebody could have taken a risk and he's worth $78 million, but he was one day away from being a broke idiot. But people say, what a freaking genius that guy's. Just so you know, a very wealthy person is one decision away from being an idiot.
Of course.
This is what people forget. You see somebody that won at the highest level, you think, oh, this guy must be he's not. He just made a couple very good decisions, and he was a little bit more patient than his peers.
Yeah, just like everything else in life, luck plays a huge role in everybody's success and timing. Yeah. Being in the right place at the right time.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.